These are the 3 obstacles you need to overcome to no longer be stuck in fear. For some reason, nobody cares about cultivating virtues anymore, even though virtues are the only things that stay with us our entire lives and become more effective the more we use them. Unlike things that have a material essence where when you use them, they become depleted, the more you use a virtue, the more abundant it becomes. And unfortunately, because we are not prioritizing the cultivation of virtues in our society, we are forgetting a lot of the ancient wisdom that has accumulated over the entire history of humanity, giving us the wisdom to navigate life in a more spiritual, joyful, and peaceful and loving way. That's why I welcome you to the Superhuman Series, where we get to explore together how to cultivate virtues and use them in our daily lives to truly live like a superhuman. When you know how to use a virtue correctly, normal problems that everybody else is facing becomes trivial to you, and you get to really experience things that life was meant to offer you. It is a totally different experience than navigating life without virtues. Virtues are the tool set that allow you to live life in a way where you can fully express yourself and reach your highest potential rather than surviving life. Today, we're going to be exploring one of the most important virtues of all, courage. The ability to feel fear, yet be able to make the right decision regardless. Wouldn't you like to know how to feel like all the weight has been lifted off your shoulders? That suddenly everything seems clear and things make sense, and you have a natural sense of connectedness to everything around you. You feel a natural sense of peace, love, and joy flowing through you without you having to gain some sort of external validation to gain it. It's just naturally there. I mean, who wouldn't like to know how it's like to get that way? Well, the thing is, that's actually your natural state. Your natural state has a flow of love, peace, and joy going through you at every moment. It's only when we make blockages to that peace, love, and joy by becoming attached to something or numbing ourselves to other things and basically not accepting reality for what it is that we lose our unlimited potential. And really, there's only 3 things in this world that exist that cause these blockages within us. And with courage, we can figure out how to unblock them. And that's what we're going to be exploring right now. The first universal obstacle the courageous must face in order to become their untethered self is to accept the universe itself. Okay, I'm going to say something that's super obvious, but so profound when you truly get to see it. The universe has existed long, long, long before you, and it's going to keep existing way after you. The things that are happening in front of you today have literally almost nothing to do with you. Maybe 0.00001 or even less % of the things going on around you have to directly do with you. That's because the overwhelming majority of time, the universe has existed without you. So everything that's accumulated until now is beyond your control. And it's quite funny because we become extremely disappointed, frustrated, and angry when things don't go our way. But if you take a look at it from a realistic standpoint, if you take a step back and take a bigger view of what's going on, you can see that there wasn't a single chance for things to really go your way. You can align your interests, you can align the things that you want to have a higher chance of them going your way, and maybe even take some actions that will increase those chances. But you're still having to go with the chances that already exist within the universe that has accumulated and been presented to you now. What I'm getting at is, it is pointless to try to make things go your way and to depend on things going your way to live a happy and fulfilling life. It takes courage to realize that we are not the center of the universe, and the universe is, by a humanistic standard, quite chaotic. It will never go the way that we truly want it to go. And that is really scary to admit to yourself, that I'm not in control, and actually no one's really in control. Things are just happening, and we're just experiencing them. That's why it takes somebody with a lot of courage to see that whatever is happening outside, the most logical thing I can do is learn how to accept it and surrender to what's happening, because only then can I make a choice that truly aligns with the universe. The only time there is a disturbance to my inner peace is when there is a conflict of my mental version of reality compared to what true reality is. Suffering happens when my inner world and the outer world don't align. And as long as I'm making judgments, having expectations, and setting standards of what the outer world should be like within my mind, there will always be a conflict between these two realities. So that is why it's quite silly to try to seek any sort of validation from the external world. The most sane and the most logical thing to do is to try and find the beauty of what is happening around us all the time. And when I say try, I don't mean to try to manipulate what's happening, try to manipulate our standards. What I mean is to give up the standards entirely. There's no point of having expectation or standards of life. The only thing you can do is take what's been given to you, appreciate it to the fullest, have as much gratitude for it to the fullest, and make the most of what you are given. That's how the truly successful are made. So the truly courageous person will stop trying to control the world and start controlling their own happiness despite what's going on around them. You see, those living in fear live in their mind-made reality. And the truly courageous are living right now in the present. They're making the most of what's happening at this instant. They've let go of the baggage of the past, and they let go of the expectation of the future. That takes real courage. So next time you don't know what to do with your life, and you're paralyzed in fear, such as when you're not feeling motivated to do your work or study or do your homework, and so you decide to procrastinate, know that that is fear. When you don't know how to communicate with other people, and you don't know how to be vulnerable with the ones that you love, know that that is fear. When you can't take that step out of your comfort zone, know that that is fear. And that is fear of the universe itself. You can't trust the natural outcome. You need to know that it will go your way. You are too scared that it won't go your way, and you don't have the courage to face exactly what is presented to you in the present. The second obstacle the courageous need to overcome to basically become unstoppable are our emotions. You see, emotions give color to life. They're how our bodies tell us what's going on. They signal things that our bodies need. They give us a signal whether this thing that we're doing is right or wrong for our survival. However, only the non-courageous, only the fearful, will fall victim and become identified with their emotions. You see, if we lived outside of a society, it would actually make the most sense to listen to your emotions 24/7, because your emotions are not inherently good or bad. Millions of years of evolution went into creating them to optimize your survival. If we were able to express our emotions with no repercussion, then there would never be a problem. If you're feeling angry, destroy the thing that's making you angry. If you're feeling sad, start crying. If you're feeling attracted, express your attraction. But the problem is we can't express all of our emotions all the time, can we? There are consequences on how we choose to express them. And that's why there is fear associated with a lot of emotions, because the way we naturally want to express ourselves may not be socially acceptable, or the way that we have expressed ourselves in regards to this emotion has resulted in a disfavorable consequence. And so then the fear is created. This fear causes us to suppress our emotions, which studies have shown suppressing emotion results in mental and physical illness. Yet, the courageous have learned not to fear their emotions because they are capable of looking it in the eyes and seeing what it's telling them without taking it personally or identifying with it or judging themselves because of it. Because yes, sometimes our emotions are trying to tell us to do things that would be hurtful to other people. But the courageous have accepted that part of themselves. They respect that their body is trying to tell them something for their survival. And then they choose to release that emotion by sublimating it into something healthy or transmuting it into a higher state of awareness. So the courageous use emotion to learn more about themselves and as a catalyst to enter higher states of awareness. While the fearful are oftentimes terrorized and dictated by their emotions, leading them to engage in behaviors they actually don't want to engage in, oftentimes self-destructive behavior. And it's only due to the fact that they didn't have enough courage to slow down and work with their emotions and see what they are telling them. Even though those emotions can be very painful, the pain that they caused themselves by identifying with those emotions ended up being a much higher cost. The third obstacle the courageous must overcome to become unstoppable is learning how to overcome their thoughts. Thoughts are how we experience the mental realm. However, a thought is different than an experience. We may experience being at the beach, but it's thought that tells us that the water is too cold or the sun is too hot or nothing can ruin this day, because it is thought that takes an experience and models it into something that can fit into our mental realm. Thoughts are how we experience the problem-solving functionality of our brains. Thoughts are the looping inputs and outputs of our brain solving problems. Notice how all of your thoughts are either modeling the world by defining it or calculating how to resolve a problem. When you look at your significant other and you feel love, then suddenly your brain is telling you, wow, I love this person so much. Why did your thoughts just tell you that? Obviously, you would know that you love this person and you would love this person the same, regardless of if your thoughts have voiced this to you. However, the brain needs to define the world into variables that fit into its mental model so that it can make calculations to avoid problems. Because if your brain didn't voice something, if it didn't define it, it couldn't fit it into its model to perform calculations with. Your brain needs to define everything it sees in order to be able to use it. If it's not defining it, it doesn't find it a threat or important. Because the primary motive of your brain and thoughts is to voice and become conscious of problems in order to survive. However, only the truly courageous have recognized there isn't always a problem to solve. And it's their choice whether or not they decide to be constantly solving problems by engaging with their thoughts. The courageous know that most of daily problems can be resolved quickly and then put away. You don't have to repeat them and keep them on loop. And most things don't need to become a problem. You don't need to go talk to somebody and then be like, did that person just disrespect me? And then have that on loop. That's you making a choice to create a problem, which of course is going to create thoughts. The courageous don't let their minds loop forever, solving one problem after another. How can I make sure this happens? How can I make sure this never happens again? And so on. Because the courageous make the choice to stop giving their minds problems to solve, unless it's something practical and necessary. And that takes some real courage. So to recap, to have courage means to be able to acknowledge your fear and choose to make the right decision anyway. And there's only three real obstacles to somebody being courageous: the outer world, our emotions, and our thoughts. These are the only domains that fear can emerge. So when fear is presented to us from any of these realms, it can take infinite forms, but the way we handle it is always the same, which is you acknowledge the fear, accept it, and then move forward. When you start to actually accept the fear, you get to see what its message is behind it. And then you can allow yourself to let that feeling and that message flow through you and unlock all the blockages. And then it allows you to enter a higher state of awareness, an awareness to yourself in your relation to everything else. And that's when you start to feel superhuman. You start to have a new, higher state of awareness and are capable of things you weren't capable of in your previous state of awareness. You will start to become limitless, and you will have a love for everything, joy for just existing, and an unwavering peace that have all been there all along. And that's how you will be unstoppable.